Right. All right. I almost got it. I almost got it. Okay. I should move this out of the way. So, welcome to this weirdly timed 3 p.m. Uh, well, okay. Welcome to this randomly timed 3 p.m. version of the Blakeley Show podcast. And I usually do it Mondays, just so people know who listen that I usually do this show on Mondays. However, today I am doing it on a Tuesday, on Taco Tuesday, and by Taco Tuesday we mean both Trump freaking out about the Strait of Hormuz being closed and trying to change and bully the U.S. or I mean the European allies and our allies in Asia to go around and deal with the Strait of Hormuz and get their own oil, as he said. So there's that. So we have that, and then that's also this Taco Tuesday. But then also because the guest that I'm having on today was unable to join yesterday at the time that we were doing this yesterday at 5 when I usually do it. So we are instead doing it today at 3 when he is able to join. So he should be here in a minute, hopefully. And then we'll be able to start soon. But in the meantime, I guess we can. Yes, thank you, Bedoinka. If you see this, yes, please do. I don't know why all right, I guess while I'm waiting for him, I can also tell you guys what we're going to talk about. So I've been wanting to talk about this for a while. And by for a while, I mean, even before they passed this law in the Israeli regime, this draconian death penalty law, where they will, the law only applies to Palestinian detainees and not the Israeli regime. So, not Israelis. So, that's one of the things. Now, they've been debating this for a while, but we're at the point now where yesterday the Knesset did like a final vote on it. And they are now, like, it went through. They voted for it. So, pretty disastrous, pretty scary. It's horrible. Of course, the media and the way that the Zionists in the media are portraying this law that went through is they're trying to portray it like it is just to combat, to penalize people with the death penalty for quote unquote terrorism. But as we all know, who are quote unquote convicted of terrorism, but as we all know, and anybody who knows anything about Palestine or basically the way that the West or the Israeli regime treats Palestine or pretty much any Arab person or quote unquote Middle Eastern person is to why is it saying, oh, it's 4. Okay. Is to basically call them terrorists. Okay. They say everything is terrorism. They call everybody terrorism. So the idea that they're going to fairly what? I guess my link isn't working. Hold on. Sorry, guys. Hold on. Let me try this again. No wonder he's not here. I guess I gave him the wrong link, like a boomer. But yeah, the thing is that apparently, like, because we know that they all basically call anything they don't like terrorism, they're claiming that this law is going to apply to people that were quote unquote convicted for terrorism. But as we all know, if you've looked at the stats, the Palestinians are tried in separate courts. They're tried in military courts, and the conviction rate is over 99%. Yeah. So they'll call literally anyone and everyone terrorists, and then they'll arrest Palestinians, oftentimes give them no trial, put them in military courts, have like a trial in a military court, and then they have a 99% conviction rate. And this law doesn't apply to Israelis, just Palestinians. Okay. So, and then you have people who have the nerve to say that it's not an apartheid state. Like, I need everybody to be serious right now. What do you mean it's not an apartheid? Like, people actually having the nerve to say that it's not an apartheid state, that is quite something. That is quite something. Let's see. Okay, well, hopefully I give them the right link. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Well, probably because it's not on. Hold on. Microphone. Let's try this. Can you guys hear me okay with this microphone? If I leave it right here, can you guys hear me? If it doesn't work, I'm going to scream. What? What do you mean? What? Hold on. Hold on. What is happening right now? So I got all of this out. I'm going to have to cut all of this out at the beginning. You sound fine? Okay, good. Hopefully this will work now. Oh, my God. Meow. Say hi. Yeah. Wow. Embarrassing. You want to say hi to Shaky? Wakey! Suge Knight! Yarmo! Hello, how? It must still not be working, even though I know I shared it with the right one. Because, oh, yeah, I can put a couple on. Thank you for that, Bedoinka, for that reminder. I'll just do a few. You never know. You never know. I don't know why it must still not be working, even though I literally just sent him the link from this stream that we're doing right now. Like, I don't understand. There he is. Now it worked. Okay. All right. Yay!
How are you?
Hey, good. How are you? Okay, I don't know what was going on with this situation because I was literally sharing it from here.
It's so weird. No, because the last link definitely worked. The other two weren't working, but it isn't a day without some technological failures, so it is what it is.
Yeah, right. Well, I'm very happy to have you and very happy to be talking about this very important thing. Just let me give you an official welcome. Welcome to the indemnable Palestinian activist, the uncancelable Palestinian activist, Mohams. Thank you for joining. For those of you who might have heard me talking about it earlier, we're going to be talking about the insane draconian death penalty law that the Israeli regime just passed in their Knesset yesterday that only applies to Palestinians. And I figured who better to talk to that about than somebody who is Palestinian and knows about such things. So, And anything else, Mo, too, that you want to talk about. But I thought that this was important to talk about because I'm seeing a lot of misinformation already from people who don't know. Like literally, even some well-meaning people being like, yeah, but this only applies to people who have been convicted of terrorism. Okay.
Trash. Yeah. No, thanks for the intro, Blakeley, and thanks for having me. This is awesome. I love that you have a podcast. So I'm gonna try to hop on as much as I can because I love talking.
Yes, yes.
So yeah, I mean, this is like ultimately something they've always wanted to do since like their inception. It's almost like they're so brazen now and so open about everything that why not legalize the murder of Palestinians now and make it, in writing that it's okay to do it. So, and the thing is, like, to all the naysayers and to all those, trying to sugarcoat this idiotic law, and the fact that they're calling it a law, and I just made a video about this, saying just the framing of not just Western media, but even the Al Jazeera's and the Arab media, calling it a passing of a death penalty law. That's not what it is. It's literally legalizing the murder of Palestinians. Let's call it what it is. This like framing of it being a law for a death penalty, it's making it seem like it was a peaceful, democratic way of voting on something that's technically some sort of law that could have been passed anywhere else in the world, But no, we're talking about an apartheid state that has been an apartheid state for over 78 years now, and them actually putting pen to paper and saying, hey, we're going to hyperdrive this apartheid system and focus on murdering and legalizing the murder of Palestinians in broad daylight because the law says so now. And when people say that it's just for people that are for Palestinians that have killed an Israeli or intend to kill an Israeli, Itamar Ben-Gvir literally went on camera after his little popping champagne bottle celebration to say, if you're a child that attempts to kill an Israeli, then you are going to the gallows, he said. He's like, word for word on video. So he's saying children are now going to be hung for things that they are getting arrested for throwing rocks. So in Israeli society, the way they think, everybody's a terrorist. Every Palestinian is a terrorist. Every Palestinian is a threat to their nation, and that children are fair game. And we see it every day. They're one of the only nations or entities to ever have, arrest children and then put them through a system where they have no, what's it called? Right for a trial. And then they go straight into these torture facilities where we're seeing literally a child that was just found to have died of starvation, and Israel investigated it and closed the investigation without any justice being served for this child that was starved to death in Israeli detention centers. So this is all in broad daylight, and now they have just legalized the murder of Palestinians in front of the whole world. And you've got like the Western world actually being like, yeah, we can't get behind this right now. Even the European Union and the UN and all of them, obviously all lip service bullshit talk, but it's always, they can't even say like, oh, okay, we're going to agree with this law that has just been passed because it's absolutely discriminatory. And they have specific language saying that Jewish Israelis cannot be touched by this law. So it's just like, I put it into a hypothetical because I feel like it makes me sick that I have to even put the hypotheticals out there to say, like, in the framework of what they just did, let's say someone here in the US, like if you were a Palestinian, right, and you move to the West Bank and you have your home there legally, right, and an Israeli, whether it be settler or a Israeli soldier, walks into your home, kills your whole entire family, kills your children even, and you're the only one alive trying to fight back. And when you fight back, you kill, let's say, one of those settlers or Israeli soldiers for killing your entire family. You, as the Palestinian, will have 90 days to live because you will be hung in 90 days based on this law. And every single Israeli settler and soldier that murdered your entire family, stole your home, did whatever they did, will walk freely and do this to every other family they want to from here on out. But the one person that gets this, death sentence is the Palestinian that was fighting for his or her life. It's a sick system. It's just like it's idiotic that I have to even explain it that way, to be quite honest. And I'm just trying to put it in a way that people can understand that this is absolutely in broad daylight, the most disgusting thing to ever, be put into legislation and passed, which showcases what the society is over there. 70% of Israelis agree with the death penalty law. It's a poll. There's a poll out there. So it's their majority of their society is all for it. And then you have essentially the majority of the Knesset, which is the Israeli government, all for it because they're representative of their people. So there aren't bad apples in Israel to me anymore. Like, you cannot say that to me. The whole system and whole tree is rotten to the core. So that's how it is.
Yeah. I used to say that until I started listening to them talk themselves. Like when I first started hearing about it, I'd be like, oh, well, like, I'm sure, like, just regular people, like, whatever. And then I started listening to themselves speak. And they're like, no. We are genocidal. No. We want them. Only good Arab is a dead Arab. Like, they'll literally say that. I'm just like they have no shame about it. They're not like, and I think that it's so good that you are here talking about this, because I was reading some of the news articles about it, even from some of the outlets like Al Jazeera, and I didn't even know that it was just like like you were saying, the framing. So even if you're listening or you're reading like something like Al Jazeera or one of the Arab publications, they are framing it like it's just like a law, like a regular law. So like, unless somebody actually knows the details about what it actually is and does, it's making people think that, this is like a good law. But even if it was just like a law, the fact, first of all, you have to be so psychotic for like Europe to tell you that you've gone too far. Okay. But like, also, it's so sick because no one's objecting. Like you said, they approve of it. Why aren't people out in the fucking street, bro? Like, this is crazy.
No, it is crazy. And the thing is, like, the framing is so important here. And I literally just got off of posting a video on this, actually, and I was pretty pissed off on the video, typical to my similar style that I've been doing as of late, because I can't take any more of this shit, to be quite honest. So the fact that, like, they are framing it as if, like, oh, they democratically voted for this law to pass, whatever. It is what it is, but we need to figure out a way to, like, stop it, right? No, it's the two people that brought it to, like, gave birth to this, piece of legislation are Ben-Gvir and that idiot, whatever her name is, Limor something. She's disgusting. So, like, these two are like the ones that are on camera championing, like, crying tears of joy that it passed. And he's popping bottles, handing out desserts and sweets and all of that just whenever that, a piece of legislation like this passes, to show to the world that, like, they don't give a shit about Palestinians. But if you go back historically to who they are, the people that have brought this law and got it approved, Ben-Gvir is a legitimate terrorist. Like, he was called a terrorist by Israelis. Like, and that's the thing. Like, he was a terrorist back in his day, and he's on camera in celebration of a baby that was murdered, a Palestinian baby, and his two parents were burned alive to death, essentially. Ali, I forget the last name. Ali, the baby, was burned alive in his home with his family, and by these disgusting inbred terrorist settlers. And Ben-Gvir is in a wedding with a bunch of settlers jumping up and down, celebrating with them, with a picture of that baby that was burned on a poster. Like, they're all, like, celebrating the death of a Palestinian baby. And fast forward, this piece of shit is putting out legislation saying it's okay to kill Palestinians by law as a death penalty to terrorists. I mean, having a terrorist call anyone a terrorist is already sick in its own right. And the fact that he's even in the government is sick in its own right. And then you have this other girl, Limor, it's literally celebrating the exact same murder of that same child on camera, literally saying, praising the terrorist settler, praising him and calling him, an honorable person, or a holy deity of some sort for doing what he did. It's like fucking disgusting, man. It's and it's so brazenly open. And I did even more digging on this Limor girl. There's a video of her with her child, 2-year-old child, asking her child to say, "Kill the Arabs." And then the child says, "When I grow up, I want to ride in a Jeep and kill the Arabs." And she goes, "Excellent," and celebrates it. Like, this is on video of this exact person that has signed the legislation into law. This is what we're looking at now. And the fact that like the news doesn't frame it that way, that I'm some fucking simpleton guy that's on social media that has to like do the digging for them. So these guys are like, they know they can brazenly do whatever the hell they want. They're doing it now across, not just in Israel, they're doing it in the US as well, and doing it on the Western world. And people are just not doing anything about it. Here we are in Epstein's world, where we're seeing it in broad daylight. Nobody's accountable or even getting prosecuted for the shit we're seeing.
100%. And the thing is about that is that when you allow this kind of terrorism to go unchecked and international law to not mean anything, that also applies. You think that other people, that doesn't apply to Russia or Iran? What makes you think that you have the right to meddle in if China says Taiwan is a part of China? If Russia says actually Ukraine is part of Russia? Well, you're telling the Israeli regime right now that they can annex southern Lebanon and displace over 1 million people like it ain't no thing.
Yep.
So again, this is also the consequence of not doing anything about the Gaza genocide and what has been happening in Palestine. This is it spilling out into the rest of the world, including what is happening in Iran.
Exactly. Now, when we say we are all Palestinians, it's not just some mantra that we say. Like, we mean it. Like, if you guys don't stop what's happening to us, it's coming to you. I have videos that go way back saying that directly, word for word. Like, if you guys don't stop what's happening to our people, I promise you, it's coming to your doorstep. Fast forward, we're seeing people murdering American citizens through ICE that's trained by Israel, in a sense, with using Israeli technology to find these people, getting killed in broad daylight on our home soil now. So
right, and if you don't, like, you have to look at it too. Like, the way I look at it is you know, I know that a lot of people, to me, are simple-minded, so in the sense of like if they don't see themselves literally in somebody, they can't empathize with them, which to me is like I don't understand that. And I'm not saying that to try to be holier than thou, but like, if I see someone, regardless of whether or not they're my skin color or my gender or my race, I can still see myself in them as a person, like as a so what I'm saying from a selfish perspective, when I see, and this goes back now a couple of years from the beginning of the genocide, when I would see the way that they would treat the Palestinians, I would think, what makes me think they wouldn't do that to me? What makes me think that they wouldn't treat me like that? These people are scary. If they're willing to treat babies like that, if they're willing to treat women and children like that, then we should be afraid of these people. I am afraid of them.
No, I mean, it's pretty brazen. I mean, honestly, like, it's been exposing. The one thing, like, I would say is the silver lining, which is so like gross for me to say because it's off the backs of my people in a way, but we've kind of opened up the door to all this shit. I kind of describe it as like we creak the door open so that people can actually look through it and say, all right, there's something fucked up going on in our world. It's up to the rest of the world to really kick that door wide open and just join us in our screaming, where we've been screaming into the void, but at least now people are hearing us type situation. So it's so blatantly out in the open to the point where we're seeing, I mean, these Jewish supremacist communities, like, we're seeing them pop up all over. And now, like, people are questioning, like, that whole bullshit UK empty ambulance fire situation that happened in the UK in northern London, right? Like, people are like, all right, wait, hold on a second. It backfired enough to say, people are asking, why are there Jewish only ambulances, by the way? Like, what are those? Like, why do we have that across in New York? They're all over New York, these hot solas, right? And they have all these communities taking over a bunch of like schools that are in those communities, and they're kind of operating in a very similar fashion to the way they occupy Palestine. And they're actually occupying parts of our Western world right now, creating these communities that are untouchable for their entire community. This chosen one mentality is very prevalent. I'm just saying that out loud because it's being seen across our Western communities. They are doing this here now. So I want you to understand that they understand on their end that they don't give a shit at this point. I think they've even gone to the point where Naftali Bennett, he's the former prime minister of Israel, and said, he goes out loud, like literally on a podium, to say, all right, guys, we tried to get the world to love us, and it's not working. So we should just continue to move forward and just make sure that people fear us, or or we strengthen our ally and make sure they respect us. That's their narrative now, is like, hate us or love us at this point. I don't give a shit. We're going to keep going full brazen. And that's why you're seeing the West Bank seizure of land happening in hyperspeed. That's why you're seeing Gaza basically is in broad daylight becoming a concentration camp, to the point where they've mapped it out so that they can have the most unlivable situation and then force them to actually leave Gaza out of their own volition so that they can take it over and do that bullshit, Trump plan that they want to do. And then you're seeing this in broad daylight right now with this death penalty garbage, which is the legalization of Palestinian murder on paper. So this is all happening in front of us, so out in the open, because they don't give a shit anymore, and they know that nobody's doing anything. So that is what it is. It's just a sick world, but in a way, it's like, I'm glad that the world sees it. That's the first step. I know everything I've been spouting out has been pretty negative, but the positive side of things is the first step to any of this getting destroyed and the empires crumbling as they may be, is really collective open eyes. And that's where we're at nowadays, to the point where Israel is a pariah. It is the most hated entity on the face of this earth, without a doubt. So that is something that is just a collective global thing that's happening that will eventually destroy them, because if you bleed their money dry, which is where I think the source of everything is, if you bleed them economically, they will not sustain themselves. So, and if you get it to the point where the U.S. politicians are now scared to, one, take money from AIPAC, two, actually speak out for Israel, or even three, send money to Israel or arms to Israel, once you stop that, they will shrivel up and die and not exist as an entity. So that's the, I guess, bright light in the end of the tunnel for me.
Yeah, it's kind of like how I saw Ali Abunimah from the Electronic Intifada. I saw him post on Twitter calling out some of the Arab nations for the fact that they didn't say anything pretty much this entire time. But then when the Strait of Hormuz got closed and they started getting hit economically, they all of a sudden came together to put out a joint statement of condemnation. And he's like, really?
No, it is what it is. I mean, the best part about what Iran did, they exposed everything. Honestly, they exposed everything in the West, and not just the Western world, and how weak and idiotic our military plans were, because they essentially got destroyed.
Totally embarrassing.
Completely destroyed to a massively embarrassing level. But it also exposed the Arab world, the Gulf Arab world, that is fake as shit. Honestly, very driven off of blood money and using other countries' resources, and just living off of the oil that they have. But they militarily have exposed themselves as being so absurdly weak, to the point where they're so reliant on the U.S., and the U.S. left them high and dry in their own countries and did not protect them in any way, shape, or form, because they put all of their energy and resources into protecting Israel. And that exposed the U.S. to the Gulf Arab states, to the point where they even thought about pulling investments in the U.S. And now it's like become a very volatile situation where Iran has full control of that entire region. And they didn't realize that there's other things other than oil that Iran has at their disposal, which is like the water desalination plants in the Gulf are literally a lifeline. If Iran hits one of those, they are all done, like done. And Iran has full capability of doing that. And if they do that, there goes everything when it comes to investments into the U.S. And then that affects the petrodollar, which is the only power that the U.S. has on anybody in the world. So if the petrodollar goes down, there goes and the China yuan goes up, they're going to take over. The BRIC system takes over, and the U.S. looks like shit, and empire falls. So that's like essentially the cards.
Right. And the funny thing is about that. The funny thing is about that is how this was such an own goal, a self-owned goal from the Trump administration. Because what's amazing is how stupid they are, though, too. Just as like an aside, how dumb they are. The only thing, which is why it's good that they were, how this got exposed. It's good how it got exposed like this, because what people need to understand about our country, especially if you're living in the Middle East or wherever, Asia, is that really the only thing this empire cares about is money. They don't care about anything else. And here's the problem with what you said about the desalination plants. When you have no international law, what's to say they can't do that? Mm-hmm. I saw Pete Hegseth today go, with a fucking straight face. They were threatening to hit the desalination plants. That's against international law. I was like, are you kidding me? You guys have literally shredded international law. You can't shred international law like that and then be like, excuse me, sir.
Yeah, that's the MO script of Israel and the US. They're the all the powers that are untouchable, that international law does not apply to them in any way, shape, or form. And honestly, like all of these like international entities that exist are specifically to control the global south, as we all know at this point. It's literally just to like keep the struggling countries down and to prop up all of these billionaire elite countries that are all thriving off of blood money and oil and wars, right? So that's and they're ironically the countries that actually call the other countries terrorists, when in reality the ones pointing the fingers are the biggest terrorists on our fucking planet when it comes to who's destabilizing the entire world and threatening our entire not just livelihood but our lives through a potential World War III scenario, just because, so it's pretty insane. And I just like, the thing is, like, we as Palestinians, when I say we creak that door open, it's beautiful to witness as an Arab Muslim. Like, I'm just gonna say it out loud, because of the brazenly open shit that's happening. We're seeing a lot more. I'm not gonna call it what's it called, Islamophobia, because I fucking hate that word. It's a stupid word that's rooted in fear. We don't call anything Jewophobia and all that shit. It's anti-Muslim and anti-Arab sentiment and rhetoric. So we're seeing that very openly now with the most disgusting types of human beings, like what's her name from Texas, kind of just burning the Quran in broad daylight and all that stuff. You're seeing that kind of stuff because they're noticing that Israel's getting away with murder on every single level. How about us, evangelical Zionists? We could do that too. So they're just out there in the open. They're also tying themselves so closely to Trump, and the Epstein class. So like, we as Arab Muslim that are very true to the cause and are just obviously decent human beings on earth know that they're just basically digging their own graves at this point. They're showing their cards. They're showing their true colors. We're letting them do that. On our end, we're showcasing to the world that we are that have been the victims of all this fake ass dehumanization hate for so many decades. And now we're being seen as human beings by the majority of society, aside from those little pockets of racist pieces of shit. So I think that's where like things are on the upward trend. And like, we're even seeing it like statistically when it comes to Palestinians versus Israelis. Like, Palestinians have crossed that threshold where they are the ones that are being seen as the ones as the victims, and that Israelis are being seen as the pariahs and the terrorists in our from Western society, which is huge, by the way, to see that. It took decades for us to get anywhere near that. So like, in 2 years to see that graph of all of us Palestinians, to be quite honest, it was a crazy thing, to be quite honest.
And it's crazy too, because so much of that was their own doing, though. Like you said,
100%.
like
100%.
it's really funny because when they'll be like, "Oh, you're so mean and you're so judgmental to Israel," like whenever they're like trying to tell me I don't understand, I'm like, bitch, do you understand that so much of where I got my opinions from about them is from them? Totally. Like, from them. It wasn't some Palestinian screaming into a camera. It was literally watching them be totally psychotic. And I'm like,
yeah.
Like, I feel like at least in some cases, a lot of times the American empire and military does a little better job of hiding it, like pretending and like, putting some of that shit behind a screen. They're just like, no, look at me put on dead women's lingerie. Like, it's just like,
yeah.
It's so insane. And again, the way that they talk about Palestinians is so fucking deranged. Like, it's so insane. And then, but also still trying to be victims. Like, when I told you, or at least I told everybody that, like, I got in an argument with a Zionist at my bodega, and he kept telling me that because I was a white Christian girl, I had no right to be talking about it. And then he kept being like, it starts with the kids. It starts with the way they raise their kids. They just raise their kids to be terrorists and to put bounties on Jews' heads. Like, this guy was crazy. And I was like,
the worst part about it is like all of these little scenarios or lies that they tell. Like, we have actual footage of them teaching their children to do all of this stuff. Like, it's for real on their end. And if you ask them to send us anything on our end, they got nothing. They just say it. It's,
right. The best they can do is a kid or a teenager holding a weapon, which I thought, I'm sorry, we live in America. You know how many times I've seen a 14, 15-year-old, 16-year-old boy, child, woman, girl who just got married posing with her AR-15 and her Bible? Like, you're going to have to do a little better than that when trying to fear-mongering to an American about a firearm. Then that's like our whole personality here in America.
Yep. Exactly. Wait,
Like,
one sec. Sorry. Real quick. I'll be right back. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Let's check in with chat. I got a new member. Thank you so much, Bedoika, for becoming a member to the channel, to the pod. And thank you for the super chat. He had to run out for a second. That's fine. I also try to be accommodating because I understand that he has children too. So I know at some point he has to go pick up his kids from school. But actually, while we're doing this, I did want to pull up that article. I appreciate that he talked about the fact that it's actually not just like a standard death penalty bill. But this is also too, guys, when I get into I think that this also gets to like what we were saying about the framing and how he was explaining about how this framing can be so problematic in the way that even some of the Arab articles will write about it, the Arab publications, because it's like, why are you framing this like it's just like a standard law when this is an actually like vicious, racist, dehumanization, sentencing Palestinians to death for double standards and trying them in military courts and telling them that not giving them due process, not allowing them the same due process that is afforded to Israelis, and then just trying them in military courts. And again, we have to be so on top of this when it comes to the way they talk about terrorism, because again, when they say terrorism, they mean existing while Muslim. They mean existing by Arab, like while Arab. The way they have weaponized the term terrorism to base, like, it's actually so dangerous and we don't talk about it enough. Like, we need to talk about it more. The fact that they have weaponized the word terrorism in the West and in the Israeli regime to just mean anything or anyone Arab, anyone Palestinian, or anyone criticizing Israel. As you said earlier, Mo, which is true, the two biggest terrorists on earth are us, the United States government, and Israel. Two biggest terrorists on earth. And yet we're constantly being told that Palestinians are terrorists for things like throwing a rock or defending their home. They're terrorists for throwing a rock and defending their home. A lot of the people that are in these courts, by the way, in these jails are children, which again, I didn't even know till after October 7th, like learning about Palestine, that they straight up actually arrest kids. Like actual kids, like 11-year-olds, 10-year-olds, they will arrest them. It's insane.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually compiling this because, like, you know how like in the UN they vote on just all the other stuff, and that the fact that there was only 3 countries that voted against, you know, the reparations of slavery, that, you know, the trans-African slavery. Who were the only 3? United States, Israel, and Argentina, right? But then you look into like historically what they say, like what they vote on. Like they voted against, you know, hunger, you know, that food should be a right for all people in the world.
Right.
U.S. and Israel voted against that. It's like all of these like things that are just demonically evil to vote against. For some reason, those two always vote against it. Like it's almost like clockwork. And who voted for maintaining torture as a, you know, a form of a system in the, you know, in their democracy? Torture is legal. Israel keeps voting that it needs to continue. Like, this is the type of stuff you're going to see historically, like that those are the types of people, entities that are terrorists, that continuously vote on things like that are pushing humanity backwards rather than forwards. And that's pretty much, if you look historically on all of these votes to, push the world forward, they're notoriously known to vote against that. And then things like for example, the nuclear proliferation. We know Israel has nuclear weapons. They and the United States always back each other up to make sure that no one is allowed to go into Israel to check on their nuclear weapons. Like, that is blatantly out in the open for us to all see and be like, all right, these guys are legit terrorists. They're hiding that they're terrorists, and they won't let anybody check them. There's no checks and balances when it comes to Israel, and the U.S. is always behind them, being like, yep, that's cool. Because they're controlled by so much other shit that we're seeing nowadays, which is our political system, and the Mossad pretty much infiltrating every single Western society of all time, and blackmailing the shit out of them. So it's such a crazy cyclical, connected thing that we're seeing. It's not just Palestinians that are true to the movement are not just going to only solely focus on Palestine. Like, I like to touch on all the other stuff that are legitimately full circle connection to pretty much most causes that we're all fighting for at the moment. So that's what I want to make sure, we all connect on that. Like, I'm a part of now a coalition that I'm proud of, to say that, I'm able to sit on a panel with the Black Panther Party. I'm allowed to sit on the panel with the Brown Berets and the Patriots, the Rednecks, the American Indian movement. Like, I'm sitting there on a phone call with all of them because they understand we're all of the same mindset, that we have one common goal, and that's to destroy this weird, disgusting duopoly system that is actually more of a oligarchy, authoritarian, bullshit fascism that we need to destroy. So that's where we're all in, kind of in lockstep. And it took, honestly, a lot of our people for people to realize that. But then I think once it came to our front steps of our home, people started to open their eyes a bit more and understand what we've been screaming about. So
that, and I think that people actually seeing what was happening in Gaza and what was actually happening
in live
from them. Yeah. And also from them. Because again, it wasn't just all the videos that I saw coming out of Gaza. It was also the videos I saw coming from them.
And Israel, it's open.
And like you said, what's funny? This is a side note, but it's funny that you said you hated the term Islamophobia, because I got yelled at and people freaked out on me one time years ago. This is back in 2021 or some shit, because I said that I thought Islamophobia was a stupid term, because, and same with, I think it was fat phobia. I think I said fat phobia or no, it wasn't fat phobia. It was Islamophobia and transphobia that I said were stupid terms, because a lot of it is actually rooted in hate and not fear. And people were so mad. I got totally grilled. People were dragging me for saying that. And so hearing you say that, I'm like, maybe I was right.
No, you're right. I mean, I have a very clear answer to that. I mean, I made a whole ass video on it because it actually pisses me off, because we're the only religion where we have that terminology. It is rooted, phobia is rooted in fear, arachnophobia, right. As we know. It's a system. It's actually more biologically related too. You get the sweats, the nausea. There are biological symptoms to fear that is associated with this type of stuff. When you call somebody stabbing a child in Chicago that's Palestinian Muslim, old man stabbing a child 26 times, saying hateful Muslim and Arab shit, that is not a phobia. No, that's pure hate, pure racism, right? So that's what I'm saying, is you can't call that a phobia. We don't, like I said, we don't call it Jewophobia or blackophobia, or it's even homophobia is incorrect. You can't. Homophobia is also deep rooted in that kind of hate. I think that the terminology phobia is very, very specifically attached to certain parts of our society to make sure that they're able to still demonize us in a way, and that needs to be dropped ASAP. If you call it anti-Muslim, call it anti-Arab, just like you do for everything else, because anti-Semitism is also a fallacy, because most of the people screaming anti-Semitism are not Semites, when we, the Semites that get the hate, are not even allowed to say it's anti-Semitic, right? So that terminology is garbage. You can call it anti-Jewish, sure, go for it. Anti-Muslim, anti-Arab, that's the right terminology. If you attach phobia to Islam, we know exactly what that means. I know exactly what that means. It's a Western construct to make us, continue to demonize our people and religion.
Right. And I agree with you. I do think that these phobias do exist in some degree. Like, for instance, like, I think that some homophobia is rooted in men who maybe are gay and they don't want to come out. And so they're projecting that. And even I would describe myself when I was growing up as Islamophobic. And I would say that I was raised that way because I agree with you that there is a differentiation that needs to happen, that this isn't Islamophobia when some little child gets murdered in Chicago by a bigot. That's just anti-Muslim bigotry and hatred for me. But I do think that Islamophobia exists insofar as like how I would describe myself growing up and how I was raised in a post 9/11 world where I didn't have any hate toward Muslim or Arab people, but I was scared of Muslims, like legit afraid. Like I saw a guy who I thought was Muslim, and now looking back on it, when I first moved to New York, I'm like, no, I think he was Sikh, but I didn't understand the difference back then. And I saw him on the train and he had a package, and I started panicking because I thought maybe it was a bomb. And I like literally started having a panic attack and got off the train. Like that to me is Islamophobia. Like I was legit actually afraid, but it wasn't hate. I think that those things exist, but there is a differentiation. But I had to like unpack.
No, but it's rooted, and I'm glad you brought it up, because and honestly, I commend you for bringing it up to an Arab Muslim, because at least it makes it look like it makes it very clear that you are done with that mentality, because you kind of are self-aware now. But the reality is, like, what you just described is a systemic learning of how we've been portrayed in every aspect of our lives, from movies to literally us being blamed for 9/11, which we know a lot more nowadays on what the reality is. And just in general, we were always the bearded, dark-skinned guys. Like I was watching Popeye, the cartoon, with my son, and I saw the most racist depiction of Arabs, like a guy on a camel being like super terrorist looking in a cartoon. And then you have like the WWE, the Iron Sheik, who's not even freaking, I don't think he was even Arab, but he has a keffiyeh on, and he's like the enemy of all the American patriot wrestlers, right? So it's literally every single nuance of who we were portrayed as has instilled that little, like, it chipped away at your brain to the point where it made you Islamophobic, but in reality, that phobia is rooted in racism. It's
of course,
pure,
no, I agree.
Pure racism. Yeah. So that's why I want to say, like, that sure, fear can be an aspect of it because of like a dangerous thing, that crazy thing happened in an event, but in reality, that the way we were portrayed because of that event was way well before, to the point where they used that event as a pinnacle to be like, we need them to, we need what's it called, a reason to go into Iraq and just murder millions of Arabs, and use that as a manufactured consent for everybody to hate Muslims, hate Arabs, and put out this like very disgusting dehumanization campaign, almost in a marketing branding type style, to make us out to be the most demonized entities in existence. When in reality, if you actually understood who the hell we were, and people took the time to understand who we are, which they're starting to as a result of like a lot of the shit we've been seeing, it's almost the flip of it. Like there was that very unique instance where this white woman, you probably know about it, like went viral for asking for milk in all these churches and for a child, and the churches all declined her, and every mosque she called, every mosque helped her, right? It's a complete flip in a way, and that like research that person did on her own just to like kind of flip the script on people was super helpful in terms of like just humanizing us. So yeah, I mean, just those types of things that we need to like systemically start to deprogram our brains, and because it has been decades of that kind of shit that has been dehumanizing our people, and it's like very difficult for us, myself with children and a family, to navigate those types of situations, because we all know what kind of people we are, but outside looking in, they look at us differently. So
No, yeah, I totally agree. I agree. And I agree that even Islamophobia, insofar that it exists, is also rooted in racism. So don't get me wrong. It's all, whether it's anti-Muslim hatred or fear, it's all rooted in that racism, in that white supremacy. I agree. It's why I talk about it so much, because I want to help other people who look like me, other white people, deconstruct that, because it was not something that was ever said to me. Like my dad or my mom never said anything like, "Oh, don't like Arabs or be afraid of Muslims." It was everything in the background. It was one of the first movies I remember seeing as a kid was True Lies, where the bad guy is an Arab guy, where he kidnaps her daughter and he's really ugly and he's scary and they're speaking in Arabic. Like it was like, and it was like scary. Like, and then of course I was a kid when 9/11 happened. So it was just like endless amounts of Islamophobic, like anti-Muslim sentiment everywhere. Like just everything being scary. Like I'm sure you've heard of that famous clip of John McCain when a woman calls Barack Obama an Arab and he grabs the microphone away from her and goes, "No, no, no, he's not an Arab. He's a nice family man." and everybody cheered him and said he was such a great guy for saying that. Because the implication, of course, being that it would be bad if he were Arab, and thank God he's not. Like,
Exactly.
like, but you don't even realize it. Like it was not until I was an adult and had been living in New York City for years and actually was around Muslim people and around Arab people that I realized that I had been raised, that I had been Islamophobic, that I had been bigoted toward Muslims, and I didn't even know it. Like I wasn't aware of it. If somebody had said that to me, I would have been like, "What are you talking about?" But it's like everything in the background. So it's like I try to get, and then obviously since October 7th happened, it's just been so over the top. Like the anti-Muslim bigotry and the hatred and the double standards, it's so out of pocket. Like it's just so out of control. I honestly don't even know how you guys deal with it, because even as a cracker, it enrages me. Like watching the like double standards and the way they're so openly racist toward you guys. I can't, like I just can't. Like it's so enraging to me. And I'm just like, I don't know, but I can't imagine how scary it would be and how like I can't imagine how it would feel to be Palestinian at all, but let alone watching what is happening in Gaza, what's happening in the occupied West Bank, and knowing as you as an American that could have, I'm assuming that you're from here, right? Are you from New Jersey?
Born and raised Baltimore, Maryland, actually. But
Okay, so Baltimore, but
yeah.
so but I'm sure you've thought about this, that like, what if you hadn't been born there? What would your life look like if you were living in the occupied West Bank right now? Or if you had been born in Gaza, if you had been born where your ancestors in Palestine are from, your life might be totally different. That's such a scary to me and also like devastating thing to consider, that like if you just had been happened to be born in a different place, your son could be arrested, your child.
No, totally. I mean, that's the thing. I think that's why you see the Palestinian diaspora so passionate and so tactful in the way we navigate things. Like we're very in tune with our generational trauma because of our family. We know that we want to speak to our elders at every waking moment so that we understand the plight that they've lived, so that I can continue to move forward, understanding that plight and push for the freedom that we've been yearning for so long. So that, I mean, honestly, I'm speaking for myself. I tap into my ancestors and my family when I do what I do personally. And all the rage, all the, and to be quite honest, I was in Palestine for the first time of my life, and I was a full-on adult. And a month before October 7th, 2023, I was there in September, and I took my son and my wife at the time. So like essentially, I'm staring in front of like, and when I say I'm feeling the most absurd range of emotions at once, I'm not joking. Like it's not even a euphemism or a saying. I'm standing in front of my great grandparents' home that I know now is occupied by an Israeli settler. And it's still in the same exact architectural framework. It looks exactly the same as in the pictures that they've shown me, right? And I'm feeling a feeling of euphoria, like happiness, but such immense sadness and anger at the same exact time, just knowing the history of everything that happened in this little block of a house, right? and now it's completely taken over. Ein Kadam is where my family's from, which is just outside Quds, which is Jerusalem, and that whole entire town, it's such a beautiful, it's one of the most beautiful areas of all of Palestine, and it is fully occupied now, in totality, by the Israeli settlers, and they took over everything. So and I as an American can roam freely with my American passport, which made me also feel a major sense of guilt at the same time, because of my aunts and uncles that are older than the state of Israel, right? That aren't able to even enter Palestine anymore, because of they don't have that, freedom of travel that I do. And I felt such a heavy sense of guilt, to the point where I didn't want to send photos or videos to my family, because I didn't want them to get feel any longing for their hometowns. And they actually called me and said, no, please send us everything that you see, because you're our eyes and ears and everything. So it was like, it kind of like broke me in a way, but it was very beautiful at the same time. So when I came back, that trip, I still encapsulate with me every single moment of my life, because it just really is my driving force to everything that I do, is thinking about my generational trauma through my family, but also the fact that I witnessed with my own eyes multiple villages, multiple towns in Palestine, that were just awe-inspiring. I know exactly what I'm fighting for, and I'm not going to stop.
Wow. Wow, that's really powerful. It's also really so sad to hear. Like, I just can't imagine. I can't imagine, especially since it's not like we're talking about something that happened in the past. Like, it's still happening. It is an active ethnic cleansing, genocide, Palestinians not having the right to return. Like, this is all still happening. This isn't something that like we're learning about, that happened a long time ago. And that just must be so hard, especially for the families. And I just like, that just breaks my heart. It's hard
Yeah,
to.
and that's the thing, is like, one thing I like to like tell people is that it is probably I mean, honestly, just if you layer in everything we've witnessed as Palestinians, it is, no human should technically be able to withstand that level of um, just horrific sights of your own people just getting demolished like every single day and erased off the earth, and just children after child after child after child. It's just so much for us to process as Palestinians. But as a result, like when people say like we're some of the most resilient on earth, which is facts. I mean, I'm speaking. I'm going to pull the non-biased card here, but we are absurdly resilient, because we've developed this like compartmentalization that we're able to do now in our brains, where we can take all of that, everything we see, put it in the back of our minds, hold on to it, because we're not going to forget it ever. At the same time, we love to make the most of what we have and showcase how much joy we have as a people. That's why you'll see, like, whether you're diaspora or Palestine, in the home, in Palestinian in the homeland, um, children in rubble, children just swinging on whatever the hell they can swing on, like on wires or whatever. And there's just finding the joy in every single moment of life is something that Palestinians are. That's what we're all about, and the diaspora included. So for me, I want to make sure I hold on to my moments, my children, and making sure that I find the joys in life to keep me going. Because if I continuously harp on the sad and harp on the depression and just think about it every single minute of every single day, when in reality it's still right here in that compartment I was talking about, it's going to destroy us, and we will never let those Zionists destroy us. I'm telling you right now, and that's never going to happen. And you'll never see a Palestinian that will ever concede when it comes to this kind of stuff. So that's why they will always lose in the long run, because we are the strongest and most resilient people on the face of this earth, in my opinion. And that's speaking for all of us, and genuinely, because we won't stop. We're going to continue to grow as human beings, and continue to fight. And we have now the truth on our side and the world on our side, because they've exposed themselves, while we have exposed our humanity to the rest of the world.
That is facts. That is facts. I had never seen that kind of violence before. Not even in movies, because I know a lot of our movies are really violent, but I never watched them because I'm actually very sensitive to violence. So like when I was growing up, I didn't watch, like, I've never seen Saving Private Ryan for that reason, because my parents told me it was bloody and it was violent, so I never watched it. I wouldn't watch Braveheart, despite the fact that it was like my dad's favorite movie, because I didn't want to see the violence. Even as somebody who was a Christian, every Christian told me you have to watch The Passion of the Christ. I refused to watch it because I don't like violence, so I've never seen it. So I'd never seen, I was not prepared for what I saw coming out of Gaza, because I chose to watch it and to not look away from it, because I felt like, I don't know, just as a person, as an American taxpayer, I had a responsibility to watch what they were putting online. And it wasn't, and it didn't feel exploitative to me the way that it feels exploitative when you see somebody like recording somebody at their worst moments without their consent. These were videos, obviously, that Palestinians themselves are taking, are doing, and putting, and that they want us to see. So I watched all of them, and I saw people die in ways that I didn't know was possible. Like, I didn't think that it was possible for this to happen to a human body. Like, I had never contemplated that that could happen until I saw it.
Yep.
And that, I think what Zionists are failing to understand, Zionists, whether it be in the Israeli regime or Zionist gatekeepers here in America, you know, trash bags like Jonathan Greenblatt of the Apartheid Defense League, who are constantly trying to censor us and constantly trying to gatekeep what we say and try to get us to support Israel again. I think what they're failing to understand, and at least for somebody like me personally, is that those things are etched into my brain. Like, that's not going, like, everything I saw, you can ban TikTok. It's too late.
Yeah, and you got the Jewish supremacist Zionists that have the audacity now to, like, the Obama writer, when she was like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, literally saying people are not listening to us because of all of the, like, children and massacres and carnage that are just kind of clouding everything that they're seeing. Like that the audacity for someone to say that, someone that you know, I'm not going to call it caliber, but of to be a speechwriter for Obama and at that level, right? You'd think they'd have some sort of cognition or any ounce of fucking humanity to, like, keep her mouth shut when it comes to that.
Self-awareness at the very least.
Self-awareness is insane to me, that she gets on a stage to say that out loud, to the point where she became a viral video of, like, what the hell did she just say out loud? Like, as if, like,
this was me watching it, Mo. This was me watching it.
Like,
I was like,
yeah, that's wild.
No, I was like, how is this for real? Like, how is this for real? Also, the other thing too is I just saw a clip of Antony Blinken, that war criminal trash bag, who was the he was the Secretary of State under Biden. He gets asked at some panel he's at, which these people should not be allowed to rebrand and, like, rehabilitate there. We should never let them forget what war criminal pieces of shit they are. So some guy asks him, what do you say about all the people that say, like, you contributed to where we are now because you guys didn't stop the genocide in Gaza? He literally went, you know, I've thought about this a lot, but, like, how come no one ever talks about Hamas?
No, he was basically like, well, there was equal amount of that, you know, deaths with Israel and Palestine.
Yes!
I was like, what?
I was
like it's complete insulting the intelligence of the world. I mean, the reality is the fact, like you said, he shouldn't be able to rebrand. He shouldn't be able to be walking right now, to be honest. Like, he should be in jail with Biden and all that, the entire administration, along with the current administration. Like, they are war criminals that are brazenly saying it out loud. And you've got Pete Hegseth literally saying war criminal type shit, where previous generals and CIA directors are like, all right, he just said word for word a war crime right now. And that's literally, like, US previous officials saying it. So the fact that these people are like openly doing this, and just there's no accountability or justice or anything happening, to the point where we're seeing, I mean, bringing it back to Epstein files, like, we're seeing we're reading the most gruesome ass shit on ever, right? Like, happening to children systemically in our nation for decades now, right? Nobody, like, I genuinely don't know anybody that's being prosecuted to this day. Not a single soul.
Howard Lutnick didn't even resign.
Yeah.
He's still in the Trump administration. It's unbelievable. It's literally them saying, and what are you going to do about it?
Totally. Exactly.
Like, they're like fuck you, American people, and fuck you to all the Epstein victims. What are you going to do? I'm not even going to fire Howard Lutnick. I'm going to keep him in the administration. Like, the fascism is so stupid in this country. Like honestly, like, when I think of fascism in the past, like, you think of like Mussolini and Hitler, and it's all very scary. It is scary, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to like make light of what we're going through. It's insane, but it's also so fucking stupid at the same time that I find myself
televised. Like, it's like so out in the open now. Like they were doing some fascism on the down low. Let's talk about, like, historically. They didn't, and not everything was out in the open. All right, but we knew how like crazy it was. But it is so out in the open now, to the point where we've got files. We've got not just files. Like, when they say here's 3 million pages worth of Epstein files, but we know for a fact there are 50 pages very directly missing from that 3 million that are completely redacted. Like, you are fucking lying to the American people just by like thinking we're stupid at this point. And they're throwing so much at us because there's like psychologically, I even watched a video and read about this actually. When you throw so much trauma at a person, you become so desensitized and almost to the point of dismissal of like, all right, swipe. This is like, it's so much to being thrown at you to the point where you become not just numb, but you become inactive. Like, you don't want to act on it at all. So it literally it turns us into zombies of like, all right, well, this world is fucked up. We're not going to fight back, which is what I'm trying to make sure that everybody stops doing, because they ultimately, what you just said is right. They're saying fuck you to America. They're saying fuck you to Americans and all Western society that think they're in this democracy world, when in reality that is not the case. And they are literally using us and using our money to do the unthinkable and get away with it. And the only way to stop it is us to unite as a people from every fucking movement, not just one movement. Every movement needs to come together and attack this head on and destroy them. So that's when it needs to happen. And I think that's when revolutions happen. We're in the middle of a revolution, as I always say, but we need to bring it together and focus it in a way that really destroys them.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good way to put it. That's a good bow to put on it, because you're right. And we have to make sure too that, like, I think it's important, because they do throw so much at you, so you become paralyzed. It's like, it's important to call out the corruption and how bad things are in this country without it leading to LOL, nothing matters. Like, well, no, it's really bad, but that doesn't mean that we don't fight back. It doesn't mean we don't try. It doesn't mean it's not worth fighting for.
Exactly.
Just because things are really bad. Like, we
can't.
What,
what is the threshold that's going to get you to move, man? Like, we were witnessing children getting trafficked, right? We're witnessing children. Children should always be genuine. And I hate saying this, because every human being should be a fucking red line. But children being absolutely destroyed on live stream in Gaza, children being trafficked all over the world by these elites, like, and nothing is happening to them. That's a stain on us, So we need to step up.
It is, because you're right. Of course, I agree that every human being should, but children are a separate category for a reason. They're vulnerable, they're growing, they're innocent. It's our job as adults to protect them, and we're not.
Correct.
So anyway, thank you so much for coming on and talking. Open invite, of course, whenever, like, you want to come on to chat, or if anything happens. You're such an important voice, not only in the movement, but also like an important, not just voice in the movement as far as your activism, but you're very like well educated about everything that's happening. And so you're a great source too of information, great wealth of information.
No, and that same thing with you. I respect your level of research too. It's kind of like what gravitated me to your stuff. So you definitely do your research and you put it out in a way that is digestible to us, and that's kind of how I like to operate too. So thank you for doing what you do.
Yeah. I know. I want to come to New Jersey soon, because I want to go to Little Palestine.
I got you. My stomping grounds. I'll show you the ropes.
Yes. Where is the there's like a festival that happens in Jersey.
Yeah, I think it's May 7th. It's Palestine Day on Palestine Way. So that is I believe May 7th. So definitely come, because a lot of people come up to that. It's a huge festival.
I was gonna go last year, but I couldn't, because the people that run the like trains from Jersey to New York were on strike. Oh, yeah. So there was no way to get there. No. Anyway,
plan for it early, or try to drive up here. It's not too bad. It's like 3.5 hours. Wait,
I
actually,
wish I had a car.
Yeah, right.
I do not have a car. I wish I had a car.
Yeah.
One day. I don't even have my
You're
license.
in BK?
Brooklyn, yeah. Yeah. I actually was walking through one of those segregated Jewish neighborhoods you were talking about, where they've got their own schools and their own grocery stores and their own houses and their own just buses, school bus, like everything. It is totally segregated. And when you walk through one of those neighborhoods, it's noticeable. Like people will stare. People stare.
I'm glad. Totally. I'm glad you brought that up because I know we're trying to wrap it up, but like there's this one thing I wanted to say is when people tend to like not want to touch it because they think it's going to be an anti-Semitic play here. Like when these communities, you come after these communities because you're anti-Semitic. No, you need to do your research on these communities truly. One, like what I forget his name, but he got completely deplatformed because he did investigative journalism in those communities, completely deplatformed and canceled because that's what they do. But if you do your research just very specifically on even one instance that I've put into one of my videos at Solas, I think it was 1991. A Jewish driver was driving a grand rabbi, and popped the curb, hit two black children that were 7 years old. One of the black children died, and one was injured. A Hatzola, a Jewish ambulance, arrived on the scene, took the Jewish driver that was injured, left the black child to die, and the other one to lay there injured, and then drove off. Right. So understand the concept of that, because their premise is chosen one nature, where it's just us and it's us against the world, which is what we're now seeing in a grand scheme of things. I'm not saying this as in totality to Judaism. I'm saying this to the Jewish supremacist, mentality. And those are typically tied to the Zionism. So that's where we need to be very clear that it is not anti-Semitic to bring these types of things up. You have to highlight that they do not see us as human beings, even in their terminology and the way they describe us in their Talmudic writings and all of that kind of stuff. So I just want to make sure that those types of things we address pretty head on, because sometimes people are like, oh no, can't touch that. We need to stop beating around the bush. We need to hit things direct now, because we're at that moment in our lifetimes that there's no time for beating around the bush or sugarcoating anything now.
Also, you shouldn't get to have a past like supremacist ideology is evil, and we need to stop acting like a supremacist ideology is okay if it's not white supremacy. Like, no, like any religious supremacist ideology is bad. Any supremacist ideology is bad. And I think that for too long, there's been a refusal to have that conversation or talk about that when it comes to Jewish supremacy, which of course we're not saying Judaism. We're not saying Jews as an ethnicity. We're not saying all people who practice Judaism, but there is a strain of Jewish supremacy, just like there's a strain of Christian nationalism, just like there's a strain of any religious ideology that is nationalistic or supremacist. But for too long, we have been unwilling to have that conversation because of the fact that a lot of it gets hidden behind a victim complex and a victim mentality because of the historical oppression that Jews have faced that white people have not. So That's how they get away with getting to hide behind not having that conversation, not having to confront that supremacist ideology. Same with Israel as a state, as a nation state, is because it's like they have been able to basically very successfully weaponize the historic oppression that Jewish people have faced to hide behind that as a way to do whatever the fuck they want in Palestine, to oppress Palestinians. And this needs to end. We can't let any group, regardless of how much they've historically been oppressed, to now use that and weaponize it to oppress other people, which is exactly what Palestinians have been having to deal with now for decades, being the victims of oppression. And I'm sorry, it's not the Palestinians' fault that your historical oppression is not an excuse for you to oppress the Palestinians. And it's not their fault that their oppressors happen to be Jewish.
Exactly. And I'll end on this. Suzanne Abul Hawa, who's a Palestinian-American scientist and writer, as we all know, she's very deep-rooted in our movement. Her quote is, and it's super powerful, is, "We are the only people in history who are expected to witness their own genocide and then watch what we say so we don't hurt the feelings of the people who did this.
Yes. Facts. Facts. That's a great one to end on, because and she's amazing. And what a horrible smear job they tried to do to her, but she's amazing.
Yeah, exactly right.
And free Palestine. And
free Palestine. Appreciate you, Blakeley. Thank you for everything.
Thanks
for having me.
We'll talk soon.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, fam. Mo is great. Susan Abu Hawa. I know I'm messing up her name. So thank you everybody for joining. That's going to wrap up this rendition of the podcast today. Make sure you're following Mo on social media. He's on Upscrolled, he's on Twitter, and I hope he files a lawsuit against Meta. Meta's getting sued right now. I hope that he files a lawsuit against them. You know what? I wanted to ask him about that. I should have him back on with Guy to talk about that. I should have him on with Guy to talk about that. I totally forgot to ask him about that. But anyway, before I wrap it up, I want to bring up how insane it is when we talked about it the other day. How insane it was that anybody, including Andy Bashir, would, with a straight face, still be doing the Israel has a right to defend itself routine, even as they're passing a law like this. Even as they're passing a law like this, he's still doing that. Disqualifying. Anybody that is still doing that, it is absolutely disqualifying. So, the law, the Dow right now, the law I just wanted to share this part. How does the law target Palestinians and not Israelis? By limiting the bulk of the legislation to the military courts that only try Palestinians under occupation. Under the new legislation, anyone found guilty of killing an Israeli citizen within the occupied West Bank will, by default, be sentenced to death by the military courts overseeing the occupied territory. While courts do not regularly publish statistics on convictions, in 2010, the court system did concede that of the Palestinians tried for offenses committed in the occupied West Bank, 99.74% were found guilty. In contrast, Israeli settlers who have killed 7 Palestinians in just the weeks following the start of their country's war in Iran in late February are tried in the civilian courts in Israel. According to an analysis by the UK Guardian newspaper in late March, Israel has yet to prosecute any of the citizens for killing Palestinians in the occupied West Bank since the start of the decade. Under the new legislation, Israel's civilian courts are granted an extra degree of leniency in sentencing Israelis found guilty of killing Palestinians in the occupied West Bank, with judges having the option to choose between the death penalty and life imprisonment. Sentences for the military courts trying Palestinians, in contrast, carry an automatic death penalty, with life imprisonment only available under extreme circumstances. According to a study by the Israeli rights groups Yesh Din, conviction rates for settlers found guilty by civilian courts of committing crimes against Palestinians in the West Bank, excluding East Jerusalem, between 2005 and 2024, ran about 3%. Some 93.8% of investigations into settler violence were closed at the end of an investigation with no indictment filed, the group noted. It's just totally outrageous, you guys. It's just totally outrageous. This is, it's just totally outrageous. I mean, he's right that it's a farce to even call it a law. It's a farce to even call it a law. Like, no, you're an apartheid regime. That's basically codifying the legal, you're codifying killing Palestinians into law. That's what this is. That is what this is. To even say that it's like any law by any standard definition is absurd. Like, what they're doing is codifying the legal execution of Palestinians into law. So they can just call whatever they want a Palestinian does terrorism. Oh, they threw a rock, it's terrorism. Oh, they did this, it's terrorism. And if they, in this apartheid regime that they say is not an apartheid regime, if a Palestinian kills an Israeli settler, it is a 99.7% chance that they're tried in military court and a conviction rate where they will be hung. They'll be killed by death of hanging. But an Israeli settler, out of all the killings that they've done of Palestinians in the occupied West Bank, of all the killings that they've done, they get tried in civilian courts. They get tried in civilian courts. And since the start of the decade, none of them have been convicted. Is that what that said? That's what that said, I'm pretty sure. Oh, I'm sorry. The conviction rates found guilty between 2005 and 2024. So 20 years was 3%, 93.8%. The investigation ended with no indictment. And here's Ben Gvir and his terrorist fan. The irony being that Ben Gvir is a literal convicted terrorist. Like literally convicted as a terrorist. But you know what they say, every accusation is a confession. Every accusation is a confession. So here's Ben Gvir, the convicted terrorist, celebrating.
השר, על מה כל החגיגה?
מוות למחבלים עבר היום, חוק מוות למחבלים, היסטוריה, היסטוריה. בעזרת השם בקרוב, אחד אחד להוציא להורג, כל אלה שטבחו ורצחו ושרפו, לחיים, לחיי עם ישראל.
I don't know what they're saying, obviously, because there's no subtitles and I can't speak Hebrew, but Israel's National Security Minister Ben Gvir outside of the Knesset chamber celebrating the passage of a death penalty law for Palestinian detainees, describing it as historic and saying, soon we will count them one by one. Convicted terrorist Ben Gvir celebrates the passing of this law where they will get to kill Palestinians with no due process, with a 99% conviction rate, and celebrating that and saying we'll get them one by one. Convicted terrorists. It's just unreal. The boycotts need to continue, and every country should be boycotting them. Every country should be boycotting them. This is a vicious, vicious, vicious law, vicious apartheid regime. And the fact that it's getting treated like it's a democracy, this is getting treated like it's democracy. It's such a farce. It's such a farce. So, yeah. Free Palestine. Boycott the Israeli regime. Boycott America if you're not from here. because we're the ones funding this. We're the ones providing cover for them. It's just unbelievable. It's so dark. It's so dark. So anyway, thanks guys for joining. It was great. Thank you again to Mo for joining. Make sure that you're following him and, Palestinian organizations. Get involved in your local organizations, whatever political organization you're involved in. Please make sure to like and subscribe to the podcast, wherever you get your podcast, wherever you're watching this or listening to this. And and shout out to all of our patrons and our Ko-Fi members and our members. I love you all, and I will see you next week. Bye, everybody.